You're listening to the Barbell Voodoo Podcast with your host, Jacob Fasig. Hey, welcome to another episode of the Barbell Voodoo Podcast. We're glad that you're here. This episode is brought to you by, once again, your favorite people, Paleo Works, locally owned meal prep kitchen with a passion for paleo. They want to make nutrition the easiest part of your day. They offer heat and eat paleo meals, athlete recovery meals, and bulk macro items. Their meals feature 100% grass-fed beef, all-natural hormone, free-range chicken, and pork. Pickup locations all over Middle Tennessee, as well as some delivery options for those of you in Nashville for a small fee. Paleo Works wants to make nutrition the easiest part of your day. Also, don't forget about the Barbell Voodoo private label. Hey, we want to be a part of whatever you've got going on, so if you need stuff printed like t-shirts or water bottles or anything, hit us up. We'd like to be a part of it and like to give you a great product and make it super easy for you. That's what we do. Give us a shout. Check out barbell-voodoo.com for some more information. Hey, and I got one more shout out for you. Hey, remember Danny D Fitness? She was just on the podcast. Her Find Your Fit is happening in Franklin on August 4th. You do not want to miss out on that. All fitness around Nashville, and it's a fundraiser for St. Jude, and so you don't want to miss that. If you want a discount code, go to my Instagram, and you can use mine. It's fitby40.blog. On today's podcast is one of my favorite people in the world, Jamie Free. We'll get to sit down and talk about nutrition and see what's going on in his life. It's a fantastic podcast, and I hope you enjoy as much as I did enjoy recording it. It was a fantastic time with him, and I hope you enjoy it. See ya. Also, don't forget, give us a 5-star review and hit that like button. Share us. Tell your friends about us. Send up smoke signals and say, this podcast is awesome. Tell some people. We'll see ya. Bye.
Hey, this is Rich Froning. You're listening to the Barbell Voodoo Podcast.
Well, welcome to another episode of the Barbell Voodoo Podcast. I'm really excited about today's podcast because you have heard his name mentioned over and over again throughout this podcast. The man, the myth, the legend, Jamie Free.
Thanks for having me, Jacob. It's quite an intro.
Was that the best intro you ever had in your life?
I mean, usually.
I put my heart into it. I really did.
That sounded good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have been, though, throughout all the athletes that we've had on the show, and you're a part of all of their stories, just about, I think. Where someone has said, he helped me with nutrition. He helped me get through whatever, like you've just been a part of everybody's stories, and obviously my story as well, because I've talked about you plenty of times on here too. But so we're glad that you are on the podcast, and you are the multifaceted human being. Most people can concentrate on one thing. You concentrate on literally, I feel like, everything all the time. From helping people's lives with nutrition to being an individual athlete, working out with teams and being a team athlete person, as well as running your own business, as well as being part owner in a box. I mean, you are going 24/7 all the time, and yet you have time for every person that needs you. And that's a pretty incredible thing. And that didn't even mention home life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's very nice for you to say all those things. I feel like sometimes I'm drowning out there with all the stuff that's going on. I am very lucky to have good people around me. So, when it comes to the box, I have a couple other owners that are fantastic. They're great partners. In terms of my business, I love what I do. So, it sometimes feels like work, but not always.
Yeah.
So, it's one of those things where there's always that one person that comes along that it gets it, and then it makes everything else kind of disappear.
Yeah.
So, those moments are what I kind of live for.
Sure.
But, in terms of the athletes, honestly, I have great support at home.
Mm-hmm.
My wife is fantastic. So, and she's home all the time now. So, she's working from home too. So I'm very lucky to get to see her as much as I do.
Yeah. And you have amazing fur babies.
Yes, 3 of them
that are ever present.
You might even hear them snoring on here.
That's right.
So normally they're used to being out in the office when I'm working, so they're probably a little irritated with you. But
They're mad.
Okay.
They know that things are going on and they're left out.
Yeah, I even have a bed in there for them.
Yes, you do.
So,
Well, the first thing I thought we'd hit on today is talking about you. You run your own business. You're a nutrition coach. You have a website devoted to that, and we're going to talk more about the specifics of that later on. But at the same time, I would say a high level athlete. Would you accept that as a thing?
I try. I try to, yeah.
And so you were competing after the Open and went to the qualifiers and Masters. In the midst of that, you're competing with teams. You went down to Wodapalooza. You're constantly competing and doing stuff, keeping in top performance. And so how in the world are you able to keep focused not only on the business and all the people that depend on you, but also being able to track as an athlete and stay on, hyper focus on your abilities and your work and all the things that you're a part of?
I owe a lot of it to Verizon Wireless. I pretty much run my business through text message and email. So, when I'm out of town, I can still manage up to, I think running through about 30 to 40 clients every month regularly. So
goodness,
it's one of those things where I'm very lucky to have clients that are willing to ask questions and do those things.
Yeah.
But when I don't know, sometimes I just do it and I kind of don't look back.
Yeah.
But I have like multiple schedules that I try to follow. So there's a calendar here, there's a calendar on my phone, there's a calendar on the wall over there. And so they all kind of coincide. So are they different calendars? Like that's a family calendar and a work calendar and a personal calendar? The one in the kitchen is a family calendar. And
yeah.
then I have one on my desk that I have update regularly. And then I have the one on my phone that's the same as one on my desk. So, it's pretty much,
goodness,
if I can see it, then I'll get it done.
Yeah, because there's no way to keep all that in your head.
No, it's very difficult.
Yeah.
So.
And so how is it that you work your training? Like, how do you go about doing that? Do you train at set times every week or depending on the day, or do you just train when you can? How do you make it all work together?
Well, I wake up early and I'll get it in before, I have clients or before I go to coach at the gym. So usually I'm in the garage at 4:30 and I'm trying to get at least one of my sessions in, and then it's constant warm up, cool down from then on. If I have a half hour, I'll try to squeeze something in. If I have an hour, I'll try to get a little bit longer in. But it's a constant kind of up and down. And
so you have programming that's written for you to follow.
Yes.
And then you just basically put that in, parcel it throughout the day
as well as I can. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you ever get a chance to do it, knock it all out at once, or is that even possible? Or
it's usually 2 sessions.
Okay.
My coach is Coach Brandon Phillips out of CrossFit Bound. So he's been my coach for over 2 years now, and I feel like we're finally starting to know each other. But he usually gives me 2 sessions. One's a monostructural, and so I'll get that out in the morning before I really wake up.
Yeah.
And I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So the suffering happens while I'm half asleep. But
that's probably wise.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the way to do it. But and then the rest of it is just trying to get it in where it can.
Okay, so. All right. And so in the midst of that, you are coaching. Like I see you at 5 a.m. At least 2 days a week, and you've already worked out before that.
Yeah.
And you show up and work out, and you've probably already done stuff in the box to get ready for us to show up at 5. I mean, you're nonstop. What's your sleep pattern like? Do you try to stay within a certain parameters of hours or anything?
What I've found is that as soon as like 7 o'clock hits, I'm like, man, I can go to bed right now.
Oh gosh!
But we usually
primetime TV.
We usually wait till 8 to go up. So I'll try to I try to go to bed early enough, or at least in bed, usually asleep by 9, no later.
Yeah.
Unless Westworld is on or something like that, and then or when Game of Thrones comes back on.
I've just started the Westworld.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
It's a good.
Definitely say that. Interesting.
Open. It's
still trying to work out.
Yeah.
a little bit more. But I'm still just in season 1, so it'll take a while.
Yeah, you'll see plenty.
Yeah.
So, but outside of that, I have a lot of help. Like I said, with Paleo Works making some of my food, and then Tess makes my egg cups. I love my egg cups. But it's pretty much a full-time job to try to feed someone that is on the go all the time. So I appreciate all that.
Yeah. That's fantastic. So what kind of advice do you have for people who feel like they don't have time to work out? I know this is something like I've written about, as far as figuring out time, but like, what are the things? I mean, you should have no time to work out, and yet you're fitting in sessions wherever you can and making it work. What advice do you have for people that feel like they are just burning the candle at both ends and still don't have time to work out?
Well, I mean, I think it really has to come down to priorities, and yourself. Not like working out is a priority, but you have to have some self-care.
Yeah.
If you're not healthy, then how can you take care of someone else?
Sure.
So I think that has to be a priority in anyone's life, making sure that they are taking care of themselves. Now, whether that's, I don't care if you're lifting weights or going to yoga or, doing whatever you need to do to get your body right, but some sort of fitness routine needs to be in place.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, and one of the other things that I would love for us to talk about is one of the things that I've always admired with you and Tess both is your involvement in kind of charity work, kind of giving back. Why do you think that's such an important thing for you?
I think that, I was at a time and a point in my life at probably 2009, when I first moved back here to open my store, that I was more into myself than I was into helping other people. I did a lot of things that were self-serving. So I was on a photo shoot out in Ohio, and I met a little boy that had osteosarcoma.
Okay.
And like it still gets me a little bit. He was just laughing and playing like any other kid. He had one leg amputated. He was in a wheelchair, and he had to wear a mask. And he was still having fun with his friends. Yeah. And it kind of makes everything else feel so small. So at that point, I kind of it was like a big momentum change in my life.
Yeah.
I started just kind of focusing on raising a little bit of money for his foundation, the Sam Bish Foundation.
Okay.
And then it turned into something a lot bigger.
Yeah.
I started growing my hair for, pediatric cancer. And people would donate via social media. And like, this blows my mind that people care, you know? But social media was one of the things that just kind of helped, like, blast it out there. And I think I think it was close to $15,000 we raised the last time I did it. And, just one person in a mission. Now, unfortunately, he passed away when he was 9, shortly after I had met him. But he, that fight still goes on. His family still goes on and fights for, other families that need it. So, it's one of those things that I have things to give. I have opportunities, and I've worked hard to get to this point, but, there's other people that need that platform. So I'm happy to do it. And then Tess is very involved with Special Olympics. Yeah. And seeing her work with those kids, and we did Row for a Reason one year. I think it was last year, and just seeing how much fun they had being included. Yeah. Not like winning, not doing it, just being there around people and being treated normal. Yeah. It was a blessing to be there, be a part of it.
Well, and CrossFit is such a unique community to be able to involve people, because it's always such an open community, or it doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter what you can or can't do. It matters that you're there. And once you show up, you've fought the battle that needed to be fought, and you're in the fold. And so that's a beautiful thing to involve them, especially in a CrossFit type thing. Even though Row for a Reason is just rowing, it's still that community.
The community, and that's the key. I think that's one of the things that's kind of got me about CrossFit. I did a little bit of bodybuilding prior to it, and it's such a lonely sport. It's if we call it a sport. And I think some of those guys are athletes. So I would say I would consider it a sport, but it's lonely. It's one-on-one. And then all of a sudden I started CrossFitting and now there's like, tens of thousands of people who are part of our tribe. You know? It's one of those things where you just like, I take a step back and I look at the journey that the last 6-7 years has been for me. And it's just like, I don't think I would have been here without CrossFit.
Yeah.
So
when you were the owner of NutriShop, right? Was that what it was?
Max Muscle.
Max Muscle.
Yeah.
Sorry. Were you bodybuilding at that point, or have you crossed over?
For some of it, like the first couple of years. I mean, I was so stressed about opening that place that
I bet
I found one of my employees actually found one of my journals that I had, and I was at one point 22% body fat. I was stressed out. I was overweight. I was 250 pounds. And I was running a nutrition store, and I was a nutrition coach. Like like. That seems awful backwards. And I think that was kind of like a turning point for me when I started to get ready to get into CrossFit. I kind of changed my whole thought process on how I handled myself and how I took care of myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how, I don't think I know that. How did you get involved in CrossFit? Because I think all the things that I've heard from you have always been, you're a CrossFit athlete, and this is, you were born this way, but that's clearly not the case.
I was born very far from this.
How did you go from bodybuilding to CrossFit?
Well, I actually sponsored a CrossFit athlete. And
through the shop?
Yeah. So it was 2012 and I went to the box to support him and the workout. It was the open first week. 7 minutes of burpees, and I'm standing there. Yeah, exactly. And I'm standing there, and I'm a cocky bodybuilder guy, and I'm looking at these people doing burpees. I'm like, I could do that. No, I could do that. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna join. I'm gonna give it a try. I came out super hot. So
the worst for that.
worst idea ever. My first workout, 7 minutes of burpees. I come out in the first minute. I did 25 to 27 burpees.
Oh,
and. Oh. It was like from that point on, I just imploded. It was like vision got narrowed. I couldn't hear anything.
Was it a slow burn or was it quick?
I just died. It was like the second minute all of a sudden. So I started out with that many. 83 ended with. So I think about minute 3, minute 4, I actually may have expired and then came back to life. For the rest of it, but it was.
Oh my gosh!
It was a butt kicking that I had never really experienced before, and at that point I told the guy, I was like, listen, I'll give you a year, make this better. Unfortunately, it never gets better. It hurts more or hurts differently, but from that point on I was hooked, and my first workout partner was Dr. Pete Hines. At Cool Springs Chiro. So we worked out together for a year.
Wow.
It was.
I don't understand how you would find anything attractive about burpees being your first intro into this.
Was just cocky enough to be like, I can beat this.
Yeah.
I can do it.
Yeah.
I'm never going to let anything make me feel that way again. Literally, I know all the next 4 weeks are going to make me feel like that. So that was my first, essentially 5 CrossFit workouts were the first open workouts of 2012.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, that kicked my butt. And
that's funny.
Yeah. That's the first time I ever snatched was the next workout. And it looked like a front raise. It probably looked like it does now.
Yeah.
I'm not much better at that. But, it's just humble beginnings. You learn a lot about yourself when you're staring at a puddle of your own, sweat. So you figure some things out.
Yeah. That's so funny.
Well, it's hard to think about it sometimes. Like, you see some people competing, you see some people working out. You're like, man. And I see it with guys like, I work out with Will Morad on occasion. I'm just looking at him like, what the heck? Do I even look anything like that when I work out? Because it looks like poetry.
Right. Yeah.
And then you see some people and you're like, there's no way they ever struggled. And I will tell you that every workout I do is a fight.
Yeah.
Because I'm usually sometimes solo in the garage. You know, for 2 years I was solo.
Yeah, I don't know how you do that.
You don't have a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I mean, everything's a struggle, everything's a fight, and everything's worth it.
Yeah. Yeah. I was saying that about you. In fact, the same thing that you were just saying about Will. A couple weeks ago when you were demoing some stuff in class, and I was like, could you at least grunt or something to make it look like you're challenging yourself?
I'm trying to make it inside. I'm like, hold your breath, do it right, come on. And then on the outside, I'm just trying to make it look as smooth and perfect as possible, so you guys can get a feel for it.
It looked so smooth, it's so effortless, and you're just like, dadgummit.
Just so you know, everything hurt when I did it. Shoulders,
that makes me feel so much better.
Knees, ankles, everything hurt.
So you're in Utah, right, on a photo shoot, going back to Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah.
Where did I get Utah?
I don't know. Huh. I've actually never been to Utah.
I never have either.
Yeah.
I have been to Columbus, Ohio, though.
There you go.
And so what was the photo shoot for?
It was just a fitness.
A fitness?
You
were Mr. Fitness?
I worked for Metrics for a little while prior to. I did some booth athlete stuff. So I had met some people, did a photo shoot, and, you know.
And that's where your life kind of took a turn.
At least
in terms of your eyes being open to other things. Yeah.
Yeah, my maturity level, definitely.
And you realized that you could use the things that you had worked for and strived for and obtained to help more than just yourself.
Yeah. Well, and I realized that the world didn't revolve around me.
Yeah. How did that impact the way that you do business even, or impact the way that you work? Because at that time you still owned a business and like you were doing your thing, and then you're kind of straight away from that now. Like your life looks, I would imagine, a little different by now, right?
From that point to now, it's like a complete, turn 180.
Yeah.
Not into what I do. I feel like I'm a little bit more passionate about what I do than I was then. Mm-hmm. Normally when people have a job for so long, it ends up kind of like wearing on them.
Sure.
It's only gotten better for me. Like, I mean, the more I know, the more I learn, the more I read, the more I can apply to people. And honestly, I've learned to listen more than I've learned anything else. Someone's going to tell you exactly what they need to hear if you just listen.
Yeah.
So
and that's a maturity thing. I mean, that's big time. You know? So many people have conversations looking for what they want to say, as opposed to hearing something that is intriguing to them.
Well, every single person that sits across from me will lead me in the direction that they need to go. They don't know they need to go there.
Yeah.
But they'll lead me there if I let them. Mm-hmm. If I'm constantly trying to interrupt them or tell them what I think they should do.
Right.
Then they're never going to get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's incredible. So, a little kid impacted your life in a way that changed it in deep and profound ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. And through that experience, you have become only more giving and more sacrificial towards other people in the process.
I mean, I think that a lot of times you have to be broken down to be built back up, and I think that's a common thing to hear. But like when you sit there and think about it, it's like, all right, well, I'm being super selfish about everything I do. Everything I do is about me. And then there's this person who literally could make everything about them, could spread hate.
Yeah.
Because of the cards they were dealt, and they don't.
Yeah.
And you're just like, nothing in my life is that bad that I need to be so focused on myself and worried about myself.
Yeah.
I mean, it was life-changing, and I still stay in contact with his parents, and
that's so neat.
They're phenomenal people, and I'm really lucky to have been put in that position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's incredible. And I think it's so vital, for all of us, and important to note that our success probably is not defined by the things we obtain as much as the relationships we get to be a part of and the lives that we get to impact. Whether that's, owning a business and changing people's lives for the better, but like it could be anything that you find yourselves in.
Yeah.
And I think it's great.
Well, and if you're in the fitness business, you're in the business of changing lives. You're
Yeah.
in the business of helping people. This is not like, yeah, I make a living off it, but this is not a money business. This is, if you don't care about people, you shouldn't be in this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I think that's one of the things that people will lean on. They want to get into this because it's easy money. It's not. In the long run, it's not easy money.
Well, it shouldn't be. I mean, if it is, you're a Globo gym. You care less about your members.
You just want their reoccurring payment.
Yeah, and therefore, if people get better and need you less, then you're not making as much money.
Yeah.
And so you need to keep them at a certain place where you can continue to make money, and that's terrible.
Which is always confusing to people when I tell them, I'm like, listen, after 8 weeks, you probably shouldn't need me.
Right.
Like I should have done enough in 8 weeks, and this is a terrible business plan. And I usually lead with that. I'm like, I'm sorry, this is an awful business plan, but after 8 weeks, if I did my job, you should be good. You can take the next steps and continue on with this.
Yeah.
I don't want reoccurring payments. I don't want your credit card on file. I don't want any of that stuff because that's not how you build relationships.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
So,
well, I think that's wonderful, and hopefully our listeners can keep their lives in check in terms of what they're giving back as much as they're receiving.
absolutely.
I think it's important. Well, in that incredible nutrition business of all the coaching you do and all the athletes, all the people, all the regular folk who are striving to maybe one day obtain the title of athlete.
There you go.
You're always tweaking, always moving and shaking your business. What are the new things you have on the horizon for your business these days?
Honestly, I'm about to roll out a new website. I've had someone working on it for the past 2-3 months, and putting together a bunch of different ideas, and a lot of it's going to ease up a little bit of the back and forth on me in terms of giving people. You can hear Drax is upset about it. It'll give people the opportunity.
Website again.
Yeah, stupid website. God, this guy doesn't ever stop talking. But it'll give people the opportunity to actually, instead of just logging their food on their phones or something, it'll give people a real-time option where they can log their food in, and I can, check in on it and see where, if they're following or if they're not following, or if they need a little bit of help.
Sure.
And that's like a daily kind of like, tracking program.
Yeah.
So that's going to be on there. There's going to be a lot of videos, recipes, things like that. Actually produce stuff. I'm going to have a YouTube channel. I mean, it's a lot of stuff that I'm not super comfortable with because I'm not really comfortable with being in front of the camera.
Right.
But I'm going to have to figure that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I think that sounds incredible. Just to have a more centralized location seems more streamlined on the business side, but also gives opportunity for the clients to not accidentally forget or miss something. You're looking at the same place, knowing where each other are at, and not having to chase each other down, and that's got to make things a lot easier. As a person who's been involved in this, I wouldn't accidentally forget, by the way. I just want to be clear on this podcast.
Well, one of the things that's great is that you're a true success story of all this. I mean, it's you're someone I'm very proud of that I've worked with. So, I know that we joke around a lot and we're pretty sarcastic with each other, but you should definitely know that it's important to me that you know that I'm very proud of your progress.
Oh, well, thanks. I owe most of it to you. I mean, you write the songs and I play them. That's what I say all the time.
Someone's got to play them though. So,
and I try. I've even been logging mine even more than before.
Yeah.
Just trying to keep an eye on it, make sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. But yeah, I'm at the point where I'm trying to swim on my own, and that's challenging, but it needs to happen. Like it's like getting kicked out of the nest. Like I need to learn how to fly a little bit.
Just remember, it's not trial by fire. You can get a little extinguisher if you need a question answered.
That's true.
So,
that's true.
I'm always around.
He's always available. He doesn't just let you sink out there. So you have what else is going to be included on this website? You got the tracking program. Like, Like, is the whole thing going to be, look, are you going with a new logo? Like, are you doing, like...
I love my logo.
Yeah.
I'm going to keep my logo. I think there's something to be said for branding and making some consistencies there.
Absolutely.
There's going to be a lot of fitness stuff on there because I do program for athletes in terms of, CrossFit athletes and bodybuilding athletes and things like that. So my background is pretty wide in terms of the net I cast on that. So...
Well, and you're not new. Like, you've been doing this for a long time. It's
10 plus years now.
Yeah,
man.
You're not just throwing the dice and being like, I'm pretty sure this will work.
I'll make this happen.
I want to be clear about that because so many people are rising up in the fitness industry, in their early 20s who have had some success and done some great things, and yet, they might not have the knowledge base to be able to be super accurate and super helpful to people, but they can walk alongside us in your journey, and that's good. It's not a bad thing, but there's something to be said about the wisdom that you have, and the things that you've been through. And I always liked how you have always tried things on yourself.
Yeah.
Before you do it and say, you guys should try this. I've read about this. You're like, no, I've tried this for like 8 weeks or whatever, and this is what I found to be helpful in it. And I think it would work for you.
Well, I think one of the things that's important is, my background is I owned a nutrition store for 7 years. I worked in the supplement industry, so I have a wide, kind of thought process on what supplements are.
Yeah.
I personally barely use any supplements. After 7 years of being in that industry, I know what's good and what's not good.
Yeah.
So I think that having tried everything, I've run almost every diet that's out there. I could not make it through the raw food diet. Could not do it for 8 weeks. Yeah, no, it was painstaking to try to do that. So I couldn't do it. But everything else I've run for at least 8 weeks, I get my data on it, so I can at least speak to how it would work on me.
I think that's incredible. All right, so question about nutrition here that we didn't discuss beforehand, but I'll throw it out there. I can always edit this.
Yeah.
The big thing now is the keto.
Yeah.
You've tried the keto.
Yeah.
What's kind of overarching, like, your thoughts on the ketogenic diet right now, or maybe the ketogenic plan, or I don't know what. It's been called many different things.
I've written up a couple different options. Essentially, it's just a low carb Atkins is really what you're looking at.
And there's a time schedule involved with it too, right? Like,
you can do it works best theoretically with intermittent fasting.
Okay.
So, but I didn't do that because I like food and I like to eat. So, and to try to fit the amount of calories that I eat in that period of time, it made me not feel well.
Okay.
So I think that everyone's different.
Sure.
Every person has an opportunity to try something out and see if it works and see if it doesn't work. The information that they need is to get that precision down. So if you're going to do the ketogenic diet, you have to do it right. If you don't do it right, then you can't really give advice on it. So making sure that you are strict to what the rules are on any diet are going to be really important. So, and doing anything for 8 weeks is kind of like the minimum that you should do something to give it a good try.
Sure.
So what would I say about the keto diet? I didn't have any problems with it.
Yeah.
I work pretty well off fats. I didn't have the 2 week keto flu or any of that stuff. I felt really, really good. I've adapted a diet after that. I kind of came off it. I'm up a little bit on carbohydrates, but I rarely ever get over 70.
Okay. Because that's just barely, is something between 25 and 50 or something like that, where people shoot depending on who you are or whatever.
It should be between 20 and 30.
Okay, 20
usually,
30.
Yeah. And that's net carbs. So,
okay.
You're looking backing out fiber and whatnot, so. Yeah,
I'm not good at all that. I just know people that are doing it, and they talk about it, and I'm like, all I do is, people that ask, what do you think about the keto? And I'm like, I don't know. I think it's an Atkins thing with a time schedule. It's all I know about it. I was like, I got this thing I'm working on. I don't know beyond that.
Well, what we do with you is different. It's carb cycling. It's essentially carb cycling throughout the day rather than and the week rather than just kind of like just winging it. I think. With what you do and your general, like, you're 6'5", dude, you're a big guy. The amount of fats that you would have to eat to fuel you properly would be like astronomical.
Yeah.
So, having you a good balance is kind of like the key for that. So, I think everyone's different, and some people really feel great on it. they possibly could use exogenous ketones and things like that.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of that out there. But, you know, I
mean, it's huge right now. I mean, it's blowing up. So would you say that, and this may be a bad question, but would you say, because the fad is you should do the keto diet. Everybody's talking about the keto diet. Yeah. I'm not doing it, but as far as, it's like when Atkins took off. I did Atkins for a time and dropped a good amount of weight, but I was sitting up late eating like pepperonis and cheese, and like I'm like that's probably not the healthiest approach to life.
I love pepperoni and cheese.
I mean, it's fantastic. Don't get me wrong; it didn't taste
part
bad.
of my diet, man. I don't know.
But like. Is it something that everyone can benefit from, or should people be smarter about their approach to their health and nutrition?
I mean, I think that it's hard to say that everyone could benefit from it because everyone is different.
Right.
There's no when I write a nutrition plan, I start from scratch because no two people are the same. Some people will react really well to it. Some people won't. So I think they need to be really smart about their choices and what they do. If they're going to go it alone, then make sure you are well educated on what it is, and then give it a chance. If it doesn't work for you, back it out.
Yeah.
I don't like diets that take something away from you that you're not allergic to.
Sure.
So that's where I go for mostly balance with a lot of my clients because they haven't had enough experience with diets, actual nutrition plans that gives them enough calories. So they're already under eating. We need to get them back up. Right. So throwing them on something that's going to be that much more complicated is going to be it's almost like climbing a mountain. You know, trying to do it in one jump rather than taking little steps.
Yeah, and people always want the easy pill and the answer, and I asked that question knowing probably what your response was going to be, and so I was teeing it up for you to hopefully say that, because so much of the tendency is to just jump on whatever's hot.
Yeah,
and whatever's hot may not be hot for you. No, and that's
ice cold.
And so many people who reach out to me online just because I've had success by following what you tell me as if I know anything. Yeah, is that I went with a guy who taught me how to eat. No, like I wasn't looking for a fad. I wasn't looking for anything. I need to learn how to eat like day in and day out. Yeah, and I need to learn how to do that. You know?
I think that's one of the things that when people sit across from me, they're like, "All right, well, I need to lose X amount of weight." I'm like, "Listen, I'm gonna fuel you based on science. Yeah. So I'm not gonna give you a low calorie diet. What I'm gonna give you is exactly what you need. Yeah. If you need 1,600 calories, if you need 2,000 calories, if you need 2,600 calories, I'm gonna give you that number. This may not be the fastest way to do this, right? But it'll be the most long lasting. So, creating habits is the only way to really change anything. So you have to break old ones to make new ones. And you can't do that with, cutting a bunch of foods out and then putting them back in and cutting a bunch of foods out and putting them back in. Right. Unless you plan on cutting those out for the rest of your life, then, it seems like a task that is not easily overcome.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So speaking to different plans for different people and everything. So I was last week at regionals. I was sitting there and I was eating a peanut butter wrap for my afternoon snack, and Sarah Williams is there, and she's looking at me. She's like, "What are you eating?" And I was telling her what I was eating. She's like, "Well, that doesn't work in my plan. I don't know why Jamie can't give me that in my plan." But inevitably, she was walking out with something else that she had made in the container, and I was doing the exact same thing. I was looking at it, I was like, "What you got in there? Like, what that looks pretty good too."
I mean, and that's the thing. Like, everyone has different starting points. Yeah, and she is a much smaller individual.
Oh, you could not be more opposite than who I am.
Yeah. So, but her needs just differ.
Oh, absolutely.
So while you get more calories because you're a 6'5" individual. Yeah. Her needs are just completely different.
Yeah.
So
completely different.
Yeah. But I'm sure that some people look at me like, "Why didn't I get that?"
Oh yeah,
you didn't need it,
and and I think that's important to note because I've talked to so many people, because a lot of them go to our box and work out with them, And they're like, oh, what kind of plan do you have? And so like we talk about it a little bit and kind of compare what we're doing, because sometimes they have like a really cool like thing that they do that would work in there, and I'm like, oh, then that sounds good.
Yeah.
Whereas before I would just do the exact same thing because one, it's easy. I don't have to think about it. Mm-hmm. But also I'm like, well, that sounds like it tastes a little good. I like to try that.
Yeah. I think people, once they get comfortable on the plan, need to get adventurous with it. I think there's a lot of stuff that you can do with food that, is not boring. Mm-hmm. What did I make the other day? I made mini pepperoni pizzas, and they fit into what I wrote for myself.
Yeah.
Everything is in there because you can kind of, once you get comfortable with the plan, it kind of looks like the Matrix.
Yeah.
You just start seeing numbers.
That's right.
All right. So everything is a number now. All right. Well, those pepperoni, that's one serving is 140 calories and 13 grams of fat. That will go here. Uh-huh. And then you grab this and you put it, and everything kind of has its place.
Yeah.
But until you kind of open your eyes to the thought process of what food is, that you just see like, all right, I got another piece of chicken and got some broccoli, right. And when it could be so much more.
Yeah. But I love that. It's. I think, and this is my opinion only. This is not to speak on behalf of all of Barbell Voodoo and everything else, but like, I think it's important to be with somebody that's willing to work with you individually, as opposed to doing an online system that may be similar or doing, just the hot fad at the time. Because ultimately health is over a lifetime. Yeah. And it's not health for like right now while I'm young and I can use it. But like, I think about older people, like, being at church this morning, watching people try to kneel and get back up. And I'm like, man, they're not that old. Yeah. And like, I don't want to be like that. And so like, I got to think about what I'm doing now that'll impact later on. And it's important to me to work with somebody who will meet me where I am and cater to my unique needs to help me get better. I think that's an important thing. And a lot of times people just go, I want what's easy. I want whatever's hot because it's working for so-and-so. If it works for Brooke Ince, surely it's going to work for me. Yeah. You're like, well, maybe not,
Yeah, I don't know if you guys are the same build at all. But, I think...
I wish I was.
I would take being as lean as her. That would be nice.
I would too.
But, and it does really come down to the individual. I think someone that's going to work with you on your schedule, because your schedule is different than the next person's schedule. Yeah. I work with other preachers. Yeah. And their schedule is completely different than yours.
Absolutely.
You guys have the same job. Technically the same job, but the schedule is completely different. And honestly, what I've learned, number one thing is how to deal with people based on personality type. So if you're sitting across from a type A person, you can be a little bit stricter with them. Yeah. If you're type B or type C, then you kind of have to find a way to finagle it a little bit to make sure that it's their idea as much as, your idea. Yeah. But listening to their schedule is key. Yeah. Because if you're trying to like jam an extra meal in there and they don't normally eat that meal, changing their food and their schedule is going to just mess everything up. Yeah. Yeah. And even if they tell you like, oh no, that's no problem, you'd be like, all right, we're going to ease into this a little bit. We'll see if you can do that. Because most people, they'll tell me exactly what I want them. They think I want them to hear when they're telling me their food. Like there's no way you eat like that. Yeah. Just tell me exactly how you eat. Because if you don't tell me that, then I'm going to be like, oh, well, they eat really good. Why am I going to work with them? Yeah, right. So. Yeah, that was one of the intake things that you have is that you want people's schedule, their weekly schedule, and also a typical eating week. Yeah. Which, for me, honestly, when I was filling it out, I still remember back, to that time and going, well, it depends how I'm feeling that week. Yeah. So I was like, let's see if I can generalize this, because if it's a stressful week, we might be totally different than if things are going well. I don't even remember what I wrote for that. But I have it all. I still have it. Yeah,
I'm sure you do.
And I think it's hard for people to sit across from me and be like, oh, well, he understands what the struggle is. I grew up in an Italian family. We've fed problems. If you had an issue, eat this.
I bet it was good too.
People are like, oh, what do you do when you go home? I'm like, I eat lasagna.
Eat it all.
Yeah, lasagna and sausage and peppers, because those are the things that I miss the most from my mom. But I was 200 pounds in 6th grade. I'm literally 206 right now. 36 years.
That's funny.
Yeah. So, you think about it, like I've had bad relationships with food.
Yeah.
I've been through short periods of, some definite thought process of an eating disorder. I've been, like I said, as high as, why are you flexing on me, bro?
I had a spasm. I don't even know what happened.
You just looked
like,
at
did you
it,
see
like,
me look
boom.
at it? Like, I was like, what in the world was that?
But I mean, I've been heavy. I have been really lean, and I've kind of been all over the board. And what it really comes down to is understanding yourself and what you need. If you need to go to someone for that, then go to someone for that. There's professionals, But if you have a better understanding of yourself, then you can learn a lot about everything that food is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so say you have new clients that are listening to this podcast that were like, man, I would love to work with that dude.
Yeah.
Which I would recommend. What do you think is something that people need to know about you when dealing with Jamie Free? And I ask for.
Are you leading me right now?
I'm leading you, but
are.
I do have. You have a supernatural gift that has been brought up on more than one occasion from people who have sat literally in this chair that I'm sitting in today. Is the look that you have? You slightly lean forward, and your head goes down a little bit, and you just look across the table, and you might say something like, "Bro," or something, and you don't have to say anything, but with that look, the overwhelming sense of like, I have screwed up, I have disappointed, and like you feel it all when you're sitting in this chair, and it's like a supernatural like power that you have. And if people aren't ready for it, then they'll just be like, oh my gosh, I've broken his heart. But the reality is, you just want what's best for that person. You want them to succeed. And like, there's been plenty of times where I've not succeeded and sat in this table, in this chair, and you just give me the look, and I'm like, dang. And then I'm a processor, so I gotta think through it. And then you're like talking me off the ledge, and I'm just processing, trying to get through it. And give me a couple days, and I'll work through it in my mind, But like, what do people need to know coming in?
That, first of all, that look is me trying to find the right thing to say.
Is it?
Yeah, it's me being like, man.
It always feels
what
like
what I want to say and what I should say are just so far apart. I'm like, I can't find the bridge. I think I'm 99%, and I've told you this before. I'm 99% of the time not serious.
Right.
I have used sarcasm as a tool to break the ice on pretty much everything. Mm-hmm. It's like almost like a first language, never mind a second language. People are like, oh, sarcasm is your second. No, it might be my first.
No, pretty much mostly what I speak.
But I say what I mean.
Yeah.
And if you're sitting across from me, then you've already taken the first step, and you understand that whatever I have to say is what you're going to need to hear. Now, you may not want to hear it right then.
Sure.
But I'm going to tell you exactly what I think about. If you're telling me your food, I'm going to be like, you came to me because what you were doing prior was not working. So I'm not going to make your food look like it did.
Right. Yeah.
It has to be different. Something has to change. And I'm going to be upfront with those people. So expect complete honesty. Expect sarcasm.
Lots of sarcasm.
And, you might get the look. If you befuddle me enough, you'll get the look, because I'm searching for the thing not to say. But
it was always the worst. Like, I do not, and it was good because sometimes I would make better choices because I didn't want to disappoint Jamie. You know, like, it wasn't for me. I just didn't want to disappoint you because, like, I wanted you to be proud of me. And but going into it, like, it's important to know dynamics. Like, it's important to know, like, oh, well, he's sarcastic and like he's not afraid of questions. Yeah. And so, like, if he hits you with sarcasm, fire back with it, or ask the question, are you being serious? Whatever it is, because more times than not, all he wants is the good in the situation. And
I'll pluck it out of there. It might be a mound of manure, but I'll pluck out the flour. And I think the reason I react the way I do sometimes is because I truly care. Yeah. And I think that it comes across, and I think that's why people feel like they've let me down when they let themselves down.
Oh yeah.
Because like they know, like my clients know, like I care and I want them to succeed. And the most important thing to me, and that's why I'm available. Like if I'm not sleeping, I'm answering questions.
Yeah, that's true.
So, you know, I'm available that much because if I don't want people guessing.
Yeah.
I think guessing is a dangerous, dangerous thing. So I'd rather walk you through, educate you on the right answer so you know it the next time.
Yeah. And it's that little word that no one likes, but everyone wants to say they need it. Accountability.
Yeah.
You know, and when that accountability is broken, it not only hurts the person, but it also affects the people walking with you.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's the reality of the relationship that you provide your clients and friends along this journey.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the cookie cutter. It's we're in this together, and I can only help as much as you're going to use me. I can only be with you in the process as much as you're willing to do, you know?
As much as I'd like to walk around and slap food out of people's hands.
Yeah, I really
that would be
wish
fun.
If you could send like a gnome-sized creature that when you're reaching in the freezer would just come out of nowhere and maybe like smack you in the nuts or something. I don't know, something like that. Maybe you can work on that for 3.0 website.
What about Jamie Bobbleheads?
Jamie Bobbleheads.
Right in the kitchen where you could just click it and be like, nope.
It never goes up and down. It just goes back and forth.
Just say no. That would be good.
It's your freezer pal. You can put it right,
put it
next
right
to
there.
the Eggo waffles and ice cream.
Eggo waffles, ice cream, Jamie free.
That's right.
In your freezer, coming to your kitchen.
That would be fantastic.
You know, I think even more so in the last year, I've put myself more into my clients than I ever have before.
Now, why is that? Why this year?
Man, this has been probably the most, outside of meeting Sam, probably the most transformative year of my life.
Okay.
So much has gone on in the last year. You know, last May to now. There's a lot of stuff that had to be overcome.
Yeah.
My wife had a really, really bad accident that I still struggle to talk a little bit about.
Sure. It was very traumatic for you guys.
My dog passed away right before that. So there's a lot. And my grandfather passed away last year. You know, there's just a lot of things that you could just look at and be like, seriously, why me?
Yeah.
And I think one of the things I talked to Tess about, and one of the kind of like our motto is, well, why not? It could have been worse.
Yeah.
Like, what if I wasn't here? What if?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, at least we were blessed enough, and I have a hard time, and I don't talk about religion a lot, and I know you're a preacher.
Yeah.
But
talk about it
all the time. But I think that in terms of transformative, my belief and my faith through all this has probably been more renewed than anything else. The fact that he allowed me to be here when she fell, so I could take care of it.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that I have a job where I can work from home. And I've been with my wife, you know, for the last, almost every day, every moment for the past year.
Yeah.
And it's done wonders for knowing who she is.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't think people have, I don't know, it's hard. It's hard to like really put it into words. I think the thing that is most important to me is I know my wife better than I almost know myself now. And that is a blessing.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think that has given me more. Like, I could have just shoved a lot of people through and done a bunch of nutrition plans and made a bunch of money off it and not worried about it.
Put your head down
and just worked. But I usually cut off my nutrition plans at a certain number in a month. And I just, it kind of put things in perspective where, like, how beautiful the opportunities in my life are.
So you allowed yourself to go through it.
Yeah.
As opposed to ignore it or stuff it down.
Yeah. I mean, it was, you know, to do, you know, when it was a struggle to think that she was going to walk down the aisle for our wedding.
Yeah.
You know, it's just one of those things where, I mean, she almost died.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, well, we're still getting married. So, you know, now she's working on walking.
Right.
Now she's walking down the aisle. You know, you
Yeah.
just, you know, I think that people take for granted a lot of things in life, and I don't want to take a single client for granted. I don't want to take a single moment for granted.
Yeah.
You know, and as frustrating as life can be at times, it's just like, man, this is like such a blessing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it put a lot of things in perspective. Like competing, like people talk about me as a competitor, and I'm like, Tess is like, well, I want you to do another year, you know, because I was thinking about
Right. Yeah, that was the plan. You told me
taking a
once.
break,
Yeah.
and she's like, this is what I want for you more than anything else. I was like, everything in the last year has put competing in. I'm just lucky that I get to compete, you know. But if at any moment, family was a choice over that, competing would be gone in a heartbeat.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, so I'm lucky to get to do what I do. I'm lucky to have the people behind me, but you know, those people are the number one in my life.
Yeah.
You know, and those clients are my family.
Yeah.
Like every person that sits across from me is I care about as much as, you know, anyone in my family. So
Yeah. And in the midst of the season of life where you walked through that, all those things, you come out of it in a new relationship, in a new life-giving experience with a woman that it has gone against the odds, gone through the trials, and you guys came out, joined each other in a new life together in marriage, and in the midst of, like you were saying, getting through manure to find the rose. Like you did that again.
I mean, it made me a better person.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm a firm believer that nothing's put on your plate that you can't handle. Mm-hmm. You know, people get overwhelmed by what's on their plate, but the plate's as big as it needs to be.
Yeah.
And my plate got a little bigger, and it was exactly what I needed to be. I needed to be person I needed to be.
Yeah.
The person I needed to develop into is who I am now.
Yeah.
So
that's incredible. Yeah. I can't imagine how many times that people have gotten to a terrible place in their life and they've gone through that season. I mean, we all have seasons.
Yeah.
We all do it. They come and they go. And it's weird how things end up in threes, but so often things travel in threes. And you can choose how you choose to respond to that impacts the rest of your life. And people don't realize that. People don't think about that. And it's not a conscious decision. But you chose to actually go through the process, which transforms you into something even more and arguably better than you would have in any other way.
Yeah.
And there's so many of us out there that go through terrible times and just stamp it down in our hearts, stamp it down in our lives, and just keep on like trudging forward, not allowing ourselves to actually be in the moment. Like you were in the moment, and I saw the posts, and I've seen you talk about it, and you allowed yourself to be a part of it, which developed you into a new thing, a new Jamie that you weren't before.
Yeah.
And it's incredible to see it because you're even more accessible. You're even more of somebody that is willing to devote their lives to the people that which seems impossible before. Like as much as you would give to your clients, and you're more personable. You're a little bit softer too. I hate to say.
Well, I mean, you've known me before and after, though. So it's. I think there's. I write quotes.
Yeah.
And they're more motivations for me. Mm-hmm. Daily reminders that we could be more than what we are.
Yeah.
And I think I wrote one recently. It was, if the only tool you have in your toolbox is a sledgehammer, then you're probably not going to get across to everyone. I think there's a time for sledgehammers. There's a time for that, and I used to think that was the only thing that I had.
Yeah.
Was I would just drop the hammer on people, and some people respond to it and some people don't, and that was it.
Sure.
But there's a time for coddling, or time for a pat on the back, a time for motivation, and there's a time for a kick in the pants. Mm-hmm. But it's just a more wide range of what people need, and I think you say softer, I feel it's probably right, but
maybe some different manlier words if you want to put about it.
I feel like more compassionate to each individual is something that that whole situation's kind of given me perspective.
Yeah.
So
it's almost like, and maybe the softness is the fact that I feel like you've been able to let down a guard that you had up before.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily softness, but maybe tenderness, maybe some, I don't know. There's something
Tenderness.
There's more to you now that you're willing to share with people than you did or were able to before.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. No.
If I can sit across from you and talk about you.
I think it has a lot to do with that. I think it has a lot to do with just my relationship with her in general.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's just one of those things where I'm 36, and you know I've gone through a lot of relationships in my life, and you know obviously the last one is the one that lasts.
Right.
You know, so all the other ones ended. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really learn a lot from those. You know, I think I've learned more in the last 3 years about you know who I am and who I can be than I ever had.
Yeah.
You know, but maybe it's because I was more open to it. Maybe it's because it was the right time. But you know, it's amazing how things fall into place in every aspect of life. You know, when you're willing to listen and willing to open up. So, you know, sometimes you get forced into opening up. You have to adapt, and you know, I think that's a lot of what happened recently. So
yeah, well, it's incredible. You know, I think the world of you, and I talk about you all the time with people, and joke around about you with people that know you really well. It's easy, you know. We all know you because you allow us to know you, and it's a wonderful gift. Even though you know we poke at you and you know set you up to get frustrated sometimes. You know, I think just the other day I said something about I want to write Jamie a note on all the dry erase boards on like Tuesday night, just so when he comes in on Wednesday morning he sees it.
It would be so much better than if it was actual notes. If it was someone that was like just scribbled on all of them, and I would just be like, oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what Jacob's talking about is that I have a thing, all right, about the dry erase boards at the gym and people not erasing them. It's literally the easiest thing you can do. You can wipe it on your shirt.
It really is.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And people don't, and I can't tell if they're doing it just to get a rise out of me or not, but I walk in there, I'm like, half of these boards are written on.
And they're never the first one.
No, they like
never
hide
the
them.
one.
It's so frustrating. And you know, I'll walk into the gym in the morning. I'll put weights away that people left out. I'll put the med balls back in the spots they should be. I'll rearrange the ab mats. But
it's not an OCD issue. It's other people's responsibility. That's what we're talking about.
Maybe a little both. It may be a little both. But, you know, I don't get frustrated with that stuff as much as I do the stupid boards.
Yeah.
And how the pens disappear. Where are they going?
That is absurd to me.
Yeah, it's like, where's my right sock?
Yeah.
You know, they disappear in the washing machine. I don't know where they go. I don't know where those damn pens go.
They're probably with the socks.
Yeah, they're writing on each other. It's ridiculous.
Well, all right. Well, Jamie, I appreciate your time and your willingness to be on the podcast, and I'm ever thankful for your presence in my life and all the people that you've impacted that have come on this podcast that have said, you know, it was my time with Jamie Free. He got me back on track, you know, over and over again that we hear. And so if you guys are, you guys don't even have to be in the area anymore. You know, he is doing remote coaching. I have a friend that just started who's in
Johnson
the eastern
City.
side of the state. Yeah, and, you know, really far away. And they're doing remote coaching, nutrition coaching. And so, you know, look him up. What's the website?
It's www.27health.com. That's TWOSEVEN health.com.
There you go. And it's going to be looking new and fresh in a little bit.
Hopefully in the next 2 weeks.
Fantastic. So probably by the time this comes out, you will have a brand new website. And so you guys should all go check it out. And, you know, reach out to Jamie if you need some help in your nutrition department, because after all, what's the use in putting in all the work if you're not eating right and going to get the benefits from it? So please check that out. And Jamie, thank you for being on the podcast,
Jacob,
man.
I appreciate it, man. I'm honored.
Yep. See you next time. Hey, thanks again for listening to another Barbell Voodoo podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. Hey, hit us up on the social media. You can go to @BarbellVoodoo, or you can go to @BarbellVoodoo Private Label, or you can go find me at fitby40.blog. Don't forget to give us a 5-star review, and we'll see you next time.